In Las Vegas now, you have the Expo Center. The introduction was planned for this market. What are you going to do with that facility for this market? Is it going to be the introduction, and are you going to use it in terms of registration and such as you planned, or are the plans for the Expo Center, given the new circumstances, changed?
It is going to be the world's largest and most handsome registration area on the planet.
We have plenty of room for staging people to socially distance them on their way into, so that will happen there. They'll get registered and then they'll get snaked around and their temperatures will get taken. We'll do a formal grand opening in January. It is open. We have received our C of O, and it's beautiful, but we think it'll be a lot more fun to celebrate that when it's packed full of exhibitors. So we'll wait and do that in January when we can do it in kind of an exciting way with a lot of fanfare. But honestly, we're super glad to have it, considering the way that we need to line people up and stage them.
When you look forward to what you want to do down the road, when you start to talk about the winter markets, how much can you anticipate? What would you like to see? How do you set up the contingencies? And I know this is a difficult question, and please answer in any terms that are comfortable for you, but because this situation is happening so readily, but you obviously have to look ahead. What is the process now to kind of get your thinking around what happens next?
Well, I think, Mike, it falls into a remark that I made earlier that anybody conjecturing out beyond 60 days is just that. And so right now we're looking and planning that the January events are going to take place like they have in the past. We're all hopeful that there's a vaccine, and that's a possibility. We own the facilities, so January could be February. We certainly will, do another stack survey and measure these things so that, we're not making decisions in a vacuum, but we're doing it with data.
Yeah, I mean, the last round that we did was vendor focused to determine how many of our tenants would be open for our markets, and we're finding that number sits around 60 to 70%, depending upon the vertical. And so that sentiment is a much stronger, more positive sentiment than we received from tenants 3 months ago. So we'll continue to kind of measure the sentiment and kind of see how things are rebounding, and where the concerns are and what mitigants we have to continue to put in place. We're going to learn a lot this month from going through this process as well, how to make these markets productive. But as it stands right now, we are planning still to have trade shows. So those that were told they couldn't participate in August are being, we're going to begin the process of assigning them for January. We also are continuing to give them exposure on all of our online channels, so our market sites, and we've offered them the opportunity complimentary to be on our Shop Zia site, which many are taking advantage of. We want to make sure they get to the other side of this. So to whatever extent we can help them, we will. But yeah, I think November to try to plan before November. I mean, when you think to where we were 2.5 months ago from today, a lot changes, right? It's forced us to be way more agile, which is important, and it's a quality that I hope we can hang on to moving forward. And I think also to be really, really transparent. I've had some of the most productive customer conversations of my career in the last 4 months. Some of them are really, really hard, but I've learned more about our customers' business. They've learned more about our business. I think you get to a place where you have to be transparent, and you have to want to we can't get to the other side alone. Buyers can't, sellers can't, market centers can't, reps can't, media can't. We all have to be super honest and imaginative, and we have to be willing to pivot and look at things differently. I've learned a lot.
How do you address the feedback from people who obviously they're going to be asking for specific things? They're going to be saying, where's the value for my investment in this? How does IMC maximize my return given the circumstances? And because, obviously the feedback's coming from all different directions. How are you bringing this into your planning and your thought process going forward?
In terms of value, there is zero value for a buyer not being in front of a seller. And there's zero value for a seller not being in front of a buyer. I've said for years in businesses that I've run, I wanted every opportunity I could to engage with my customers. The interesting thing about this is there's almost nothing you can do. It's almost like politics in the country. There's nothing you can do that, 50% of the people think it's really great and 50% think it's really not so great. And so the North Star again is safety. And, whether it's digital, which by the way, we're giving away, that's a value add while the physical marketplace is diminished. But at the end of the day, the people that say, that aren't using digital, that are not getting physically in front of their customer, they're going to go out of business. It's just that simple. And we've just got to figure out how we can leverage the most resources to, again, put those buyers and sellers together in the most frictionless and safe way. And I think technology is going to play a lot more of a role in that, without a doubt. But I think one of the lessons learned for me in this is a reinforcement of something we knew when we founded the company in 2011. The market's essential. That's everybody would like it to be less expensive. That's just the human condition. But markets are essential. We're finding out that technology is essential because you can be in front of your customer more often. And if IMC 365 days a year can offer physical plus digital, it's got extraordinary value. And the cost benefit of that is a force multiplier. And it's incumbent on us to be able to tell that story. If there was another way that buyers and sellers could find to add value, they'll do it. And we would do it too. We'd want to play in that arena.
No, I mean, I just think the value that we offer and will continue to offer is the audience that we deliver, and we're just going to be delivering it more ways. And so we will be driving business to our customers year round, just in different ways, both the physical and the digital. I mean, I will say, if this is part of your question, I don't know, that we did offer probably an incredibly unprecedented level of relief. And not only was the level of relief unprecedented, but the fact that we offered it unilaterally to everyone based on certain guidelines and kind of long-term engagement with us and things of that nature. But, we didn't just pick and choose who we thought deserved it or was going to be able to get the furthest with it. We offered it to everyone. And most, there were kind of two different phases. And the first was more of a deferral, but it's now, a full forgiveness opportunity. And some of it's, for tenants that are in it for the long haul, for the next 4 to 5 years with us, they're getting a pretty significant assist from us. And we think it was the right thing to do. It was a critical thing to do, but it wasn't easy to do.
Well, and just to add on that, Dorothy used the word unprecedented in terms of the rent relief that we've offered. We have great insight into the real estate industry, into the office industry, And so people would make the case that, we can't go in and use our offices, therefore we need a reduction in rent, or we need, free rent, or the mall was closed and I wasn't able to use my store. And so in any commercial real estate arena, we can see what other people are doing. And what we're doing is far in excess of what any landlord is doing in other elements of commercial real estate. And with that, I'll say we don't consider ourselves a landlord. We're in the business of putting buyers and sellers together. We happen to own a lot of real estate. But, that in that context, we're a partner. And, for people that act honorably and are partners with us, we're going to get to the other end of this. I think Mike used the word sentiment. In investing, there's an old saying about sentiment that when things are really good, people think they're going to always be good. And when things are really bad, they think they're going to always be bad. And I think that kind of sentiment applies to the economy right now. Generally, everything does change. And back to a word Dorothy used, agility. I think that's the hallmark of a great company, that and adaptability. And something we talk about internally all the time, the ability to pivot quickly.
Great. Just to sum up, and it's probably evident from the course of our discussion, but I want to give you a chance to address this. Atlanta and Las Vegas, as they're now constituted, when you look forward, how confident are you that you're going to have those shows in the way that you want them to come off as you see things right now?
Well, as we see things right now, we're confident as to, in how we've, basically talked about the shows in terms of the number of tenants that are going to be open. We've said, in everyone's lease, there's a requirement that you have to open your showroom for a market. And we've said we're not going to enforce that. So if, as a tenant or a seller and you make the decision you don't want to go, we're saying that's fine. And the same thing with buyers always have an opportunity of, whether they want to go or not. But, absent some drastic government action, the show will go on. And as long as we can do it with the utmost safety, that's something we won't compromise.